everybody. I hope everyone had a good day today. I wanted to pop on here so we can talk about our exercise habits. They may be non-existent, which is okay because that's something that is easy to change. They might not be intense enough, that's another easy fix. So I got on here earlier in the week and I was saying how I kind of fell off of my hooping routine, but I am happy to say I popped back on this week. I've actually been really busy making hoops, which I always enjoy doing. So I was so busy making hoops, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to actually hoop myself. So I decided to test out every hoop that I made this week. I used to do that way back when, but kind of lost that habit. So if you did order a hula hoop from me this week, it was tried and tested by yours truly. So, and that way it takes me, it just depends on the hoop. Some take longer to tape than others. So after I would finish, a hoop, it usually takes me on average about 30 minutes. I tape them first, and then I make the connections after I tape them. So after I made the connections, then I tested them all out. I like to also test out the hoops, because even me, someone who makes hula hoops, like one of a hooper's biggest issues is being curious about other hoop sizes. There's so many different sizes, there's different types of tubing, and there's taped hoops, there's bare hoops, so there's a lot of different options. And I make them from 20 inches all the way to 42 inches, which like a 20-inch hoop will be very, very small, and a 42-inch hoop will be huge. So people are always curious about size, even if you've been if you've been hooping for a long time, you're still curious about the sizing. I get questions about it all the time, and what I tell people is, like, there's no perfect size hula hoop for everyone. Depending on the tricks that you like to do, there's a lot of different variables that can go into your hoop size. But I always tell people, it's like, just receive the hoop, don't overthink it, and adjust to the hoop itself. Adjust your tricks, adjust your hooping style, because you don't know what you're getting really until it lands in the mail. And it's so weird, like sometimes 2 inches will make like all the difference, especially when you're getting into the smaller size hula hoops. But sometimes 2 inches will make barely any difference on the bigger size hula hoops. So it can be tricky picking a size, but I always tell people, just don't overthink it. You'll adapt, you'll adjust to the hoop that you receive. And then we not only worry about sizing with the single hoops, and sometimes we get into doubles, and it's, uncharted territory, so it's kind of hard to figure out what size you want to try to start doing doubles with. So like I said, just don't overthink it. There's this is one thing that a lot of people need to take, is there's a lot of old information out there. So try to, pay attention to the videos that you're watching, see how old they are. You want to stay fresh and new on your information, because some things have changed. Like the real heavy hula hoops is something that's kind of out, and your beginner hoops will be a little bit lighter now than they were 5-10 years ago. So it's just something to consider. And if you ever have questions about hoop sizing, I'm always open-eared and open-hearted, and I'm here to help you guys. So please always feel free to leave questions if you have any, and I'll help you out. I tend to have good feedback with the sizing that I recommend, so that's a good thing. I'm very petite, I'm very short, so sometimes I have a harder time with taller people because I can't really relate to their size. But for the most part, if you're average size or if you're small, then I'm definitely your girl and I can help you out on hoop sizing. And like all the hoops are custom made. They're made to whatever you order, your liking, whether it's a tape tube or a bare hoop. And then if you're a beginner, you don't have to get a tape tube. Like in the beginner sections, you'll see only tape tubes, but if you get a bare hoop, they have better longevity. They last longer because there's no tape to chip. The tape does chip over time, but I always tell people that's just work that you put in. So you should be proud of the little chips and scrapes on your hoop. That means that you got up and you did it. So like I said, you don't even have to be good at it. You just have to do it. Like you just have to get up, you got to get moving, and you got to get motivated. And the only person that can change that is you. So having the hula hoop at home with easy access, there's really no excuses. You don't have to plan your whole day around hooping like you would having to go to the gym. You just grab it whenever you have a spare 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I always recommend putting on music. That helps to get you moving and to get you motivated. You can put it on your favorite song. You can hoop to any kind of music too. I hoop to country music, to EDM. So always put on your favorite tunes. And even if you're just dancing with your hula hoop, like it's your bestie, like you're moving and you're being active. And that's really the goal here, is to make small changes that add up to a big difference. And then hooping is actually pretty enjoyable, which is not the norm when it comes to working out. It is the total opposite of a treadmill, where a treadmill you're like, oh my god, you're just like counting the seconds like they're hours almost. Hooping's not like that. Sometimes it'll get away from you, which is a good thing. You might end up hooping for longer than you expected because you almost got a new trick, or your flow is, flowing that day. And flow does take some time, so that'll be the first step that you work towards. You'll get a hula hoop. Most people want to learn how to waist hoop because that's kind of just ingrained in our body. Like if you're going to be a hooper, you have to know how to waist hoop, right? Well, that's not right. Because my husband is a secret hooper. He hoops for me only, but he can't waist hoop. But he can do a million off-body arm tricks. So, everybody's different. But after you learn how to waist hoop, most people move on to learning off-body tricks, which are more like arms and legs sometimes, or even just like using your body to make the hoop move up and down, but not in the waist hooping form. So usually you learn tricks after, and then you'll try to move on to finding your flow. Flow is when you can flow from one trick to another with very little effort. When you can change the direction of the hoop, or just change the motion in a fluid manner, that is what flow is called. And when you do find your flow state, and it builds, it's not like you just find your flow state one day and it's like, oh my god. Some days are better than others, and then you'll slowly get smoother and smoother and smoother through transitions. So that's why it's really self-motivating, because you're moving in a forward direction. You're not just doing something to do something, to get the calories off or to get the weight off. That's not our goal here. Our goal at I Dream of Hoops, my shop, my motto is health, happiness, and hula hoops are our goals, because that's really all it is. And then you have to be patient with yourself. Being patient is important. And you just have to be kind to yourself. It's a learning curve. You're not gonna grab a hula hoop and be an expert on the first day, or even the first month, or even the first year, So there's always something new to learn too, which is awesome. yeah, like I said, just grabbing a hula hoop, or it doesn't have to be a hula hoop, just getting active for a short period of time, whether you're doing an aerobic exercise or you're walking in place or you're going walk around the block, do a couple sets of certain exercises. It's just really getting up and getting moving. And some days will be better than others, but the fact that you're making that decision is moving a step in the right direction, which can be daunting sometimes. Sometimes the hardest thing is just to get up and do it. So we need to develop the habit and break the bad habit of being lazy when being active is so easy and so accessible, especially with hooping, if that's the path that you choose. But everyone has their own rhyme or reason for the exercises that they pick. But hooping also is good to get your mind out of the cycle of thinking about just all the things that we harp on. It gets you out of your head for even just 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's a win in my book. If I can ever get out of my head, is a win. So that's really one of the reasons why I've stuck with hooping, is for the mental gains. It really is like, for instance, like if I'm going through something really, really tough, I'll just go and like hoop it out. Like I'll grab my hoop, and it might be a little rougher of a flow session, but it just gives me that release, kind of like when you cry, you know. But instead of crying, I'll grab my hula hoop and I'll just hoop it out, and usually I feel way better after. And that's just kind of how I kind of put it in as a coping mechanism. And not only will you be helping your mental, you'll be helping your physical. And it's something easy to do. You know, say you have a newborn baby, then you can do it with the baby in their little bassinet or cradle. So there's no excuse. It's not like, oh, I can't get a babysitter to go to the gym. That's crazy, you know. I think it's like, I admire people that make the effort to go to the gym, but that's a lot of organizing and just a lot of extra steps that aren't necessary if you find a good workout regimen at home. So that's why I recommend it to everyone, really, regardless of age, sex, height. We even have some people in the hooping community that are in wheelchairs. So it's like you're only limited by your mind. So does anyone have a workout routine at home that they do? Something that's easy to do, something we can share with everyone else? Or does anyone make the effort and go to the gym? Because like I had gotten out of the groove of hooping, and I gained 1 pound and then another pound and then another pound. I think something's going on with my body. I don't know if it's like my lymphatic drainage or if it's hormones, but I was just feeling really discouraged and like backed in a corner and helpless, like we tend to want to feel when we're not getting the results that we expect. But instead of, I brushed that off pretty quick, and I decided to get back on the horse. It's like, let me start hooping again, get my mental right, get my physical in a better place. Making a small step is better than making no step at all. So that's kind of my MO on that. Like even at home, say you jump rope, or you want to do like some push-ups if you're trying to work on your arms, or just like a certain area, you try to work out that specific area. It's like, just get up, and if you're like sulking over your arms and they need some work, it's like, get up and go do a push-up. Go do one, and one will lead to more than one, and one is better than none. Life is really like a math game, especially when it comes to diet and exercise. If you eat more than you're burning, you're gonna gain weight. Or like with working out, like the more you move, the more steps you take, the better position that you're putting yourself in. So you want to let the numbers game work to your advantage than work against you, because it's really easy to let the numbers work against you when it comes to calories or to intake, and then when it comes to burning. I know when I was like on a treadmill when I used to go to the gym, when you'd watch the calories like go down or go up, okay, you burned 1 calorie, another calorie, I was like, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like, it makes you reconsider, like, hey, is that extra snack at night worth it? You know, like, it's really not. A lot of times it's just mental, and it's just getting it out of your head and distracting your mind. I was doing like art at night, because you know there's not much on TV anymore, and the content is lacking. So I would be hungry all night because I was just thinking about nothing. So I would, like, instead of harping over the food, I would grab my hoop or I would grab my paintbrush, and I would start working on my little art project that I had going. I don't have one currently going now, so that's a good way to distract your mind from overeating. I don't know, like everyone who's on the GLP-1 meds, the ones like Ozempic and stuff, they say that Ozempic has changed their thought pattern. Like, they don't think about food as much as they did, and that made it like click for me. You know, it's like it is very much more mental than we'd like to admit. So we have to put ourselves in a good mindset, and we want to win the numbers game, and we just want to do something. Like I said, you don't have to move a mountain, you just have to take a step onto the mountain, you know, and that's how you really win in life and set yourself up for success. Because we'll sit there and sulk all day about how things aren't going our way when we're not making the change to make it go our way. No one's going to make that effort for you. Most people don't even make it for themselves, you know. So we have to be accountable, and then we have to assess the situation, like what's going on, why, like for me, why am I gaining weight? Am I snacking too much? Am I overeating for supper? You know, like, am I not making good choices? Do I need to replace my bad snack with a fruit or veggie? You know, like, so many of us say that we're hungry and we want to eat more, but we don't eat our fruits and veggies. And that's going to have so much more fiber, and it's just going to make you feel fuller longer, and it'll give you satisfied. You'll probably forget. Like, me and my husband sometimes will cut an apple and we'll dip it in, we'll make like a peanut butter and Cool Whip mixture. And most of the time we won't even finish our apple slices because it's so filling. Where any other snack, we would just finish it, and you know, like chips or something, a whole bag of chips, and then you're still hungry after, and you've eaten 1,000 calories and with the bag of chips, where with a 100 or 2, you know, if you add the peanut butter. So it's really about good, like, replacements in areas that you're weak at. So fine, you want to assess your diet and your exercise regimen and find the holes, find the weak spots, and make small improvements in once you identify the problem. Because if we don't identify the problem, then we can't find a solution. So it's really, that's a good way to get started. And then you want to, I always tell people to ask AI to calculate your total energy expenditure, which is the amount of calories that you burn in a day. So once you have that as a good baseline, you don't really have to count calories. I do recommend like portioning out, like if you eat cereal, just so you know what an actual portion looks like. Do it a couple times where you can't be like, oh, let me just fill up my whole bowl with cereal and milk, look on the food label and be like, oh, it's only this many calories. That's not being honest with yourself. Whether it's lack of education or just denial, you have to make a good decision in that aspect. That's when I say, like, no one's going to do it for you. Like, you're the only person that has control in that circumstance. So it's important to be educated, to not be oblivious, whether it's consciously or not, and a way to move in the right direction. And then, like, I always like to not overeat for lunch, because after lunch, if you do work, which I'm sure most people do, you're distracted. So it's easier to not, like, overeat at lunch than at supper. Supper time is more difficult for most people. You have more time on your hands, and that can lead to bad decisions in the kitchen or at the snack cabinet. My husband, I swear, before his food has even settled from dinner, he's already, like, mapping out his next snack. I laugh at him. I tell him that he has food anxiety. If we don't have any snacks, then he'll get antsy until he figures out a way to find a snack. But I was like, that's not a great relationship with food, you know? Like, you shouldn't be looking for your snack before your supper has settled. But he's still in training, so. But really, like I said, that's how you do it. You don't say, like, okay, I'm gonna go on a low carb diet tomorrow, I'm gonna have 0 carbs. Like, that's not the winning strategy. The winning strategy is identifying the issue and then making small changes until you're where you want to be. And a lot of times it's just about breaking a bad habit. We have so many bad habits, and like I said, a lot of times we just don't want to admit it. So you got to be honest with yourself and just try to move forward in the right direction. We're all human and we make mistakes. Your diet's not going to be perfect. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But the more good decisions you make, the better outcome you're going to have. And that's with most things in life. Like I said, like with the numbers game, numbers can add up so quickly when it comes to calories. Like, for instance, I looked up, we like small sliders. They're really, really good. I don't know if anyone else has that around. It's fairly new in our area, but they're delicious. But it's really, really filling. So we went to go get it the other night, and I looked up the calories on them, and each little burger, that you get 3. Each little burger is 200 calories. Then you get these waffle fries with it, and you can also get a shake. By the time you add up all those calories from that one meal, that's more calories than I should eat in a day. So me making the conscious decision to be like, seems high in the calorie range, let me check it out. A lot of times if you check the calories, it will deter you from eating a lot of the fast food that we eat. So now, ever since I checked it, I haven't eaten smalls anymore, because it's not feasible for me. You know, for some people that have a higher calorie range, yes, or some people that have a better metabolism, it's like, go for it. But when you're struggling with your weight, you have to take the reins like that, so you can be educated and know where the issue is, you know? Or even like Crumble, the cookie place. Holy smokes, that is some delicious cookies, but each cookie is like crazy amount of calories. So we got it one time, someone like actually got it delivered to our house. I didn't even know what Crumble was, and we had a little field day. It was fun, but I went to go order them again for myself, and I looked at the calories and I was like, no way, that's gonna ruin my whole week, potentially a month, you know, of trying to eat well. So you kind of have to pick your battles in that aspect. I even saw that like Crumble has a cookie cutter where you can cut one cookie into 4 pieces. That is actually the serving size that you probably should be having, is the 4th of the cookie. So portion control and serving sizes are very important, and a lot of people don't use them like they should, but the information's all there. And if you notice, all of the calorie counts on most things are pretty reasonable. But the reason why they're pretty reasonable is because that's the recommended amount for you to eat. So it might just be like 4 small cookies and it's 150 calories, but the bag is full of cookies. So they're all going to look okay on the nutrition label, but you have to see what the serving size is to know what that calorie on the nutrition label, what is it equal to in physical food, you know? So stuff like that is very important, especially if you're trying to eat in a calorie deficit. You have to be educated on nutrition labels, just the basic stuff. I don't know if anyone finds this interesting, but I thought this was like the coolest thing that I learned in nutrition. Every gram of protein and carbohydrates has 4 calories. So say the nutrition label says it has 5 grams of protein. Well, the way that you figure out how many calories are coming from the protein would be 5 grams of protein times 4 calories per gram. So that would be 20. You get 20 calories from the protein. Carbohydrates are the same math. Fat is a little bit more dense. Fat is going to be 9 calories per 1 gram. So if there are 2 grams of fat on the nutrition label, then 2 times 9 calories per gram would be 18 calories that you're getting from the fat in that particular item. So that's just like, I never really understood calories, and it's like, how do they measure that? But that's how they measure it, and that's how you get the information for the nutrition label. And then a calorie is how much heat it takes to burn that amount of energy. So calories are really a measurement of heat, which is a byproduct of your metabolism. So I always took that information and just thought it was interesting. But being educated, if you guys ever have any questions, I went to school for nutrition, dietetics, so I do have the information at hand. If you have anything specific to, if you have a certain ailment or a problem in your diet, I can maybe potentially help you identify it. I don't mind giving out the information because I do have it. So if you ever have any questions, always feel free to comment or message me, and I'll be happy to help. I'll give you guys free diet advice. How about that? That sounds like a deal. And like I always say, the small changes make a big change eventually, and it gives you success. It sets you up for success instead of having a small bit of success and then failure after. It's about like a healthy lifestyle. It's lifestyle changes, small attainable changes, nothing that's gonna, ruin your day or make you feel not like yourself or break your routine. It's about deciding like, hey, she's right, I'm gonna go buy a hula hoop and I'm gonna hoop dance for 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week. If you do that, you will see positive change. If you don't do that and you decide to sit on the couch when the times that you could be exercising, then you're not going to see a positive change. You might see a negative effect. So that's how we take control, guys, and that's how we make ourselves the best self. And then you just have to take care of your body, It's like you only have one and you have to. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about diet, hula hooping, any particular, like I said, ailment that you have that you need a special dietary recommendation, I am your girl. But I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.